Well, today we are going to really, um, you're going to want more of just pen and paper. And I'm sitting today. I'm usually standing when we're doing these, and that's on purpose because the topic we're talking about today is how to manage ourselves when we're feeling burnt out, right? And so, um, I'm going to be doing these practices for myself today also. And what I want you to do, we're going to talk through some of the big things that are causing burnout. What's it feel like? Why might we be facing it? And then we're going to do some practices. So I'm actually going to have you guys write some things down and do some of the things that we're talking about. We're going to make some columns. We're going to do some stuff like that. So as much as you can talk, great. If you don't want to, not a problem at all. But the whole intention of the next hour together is to give you some practical things that can really help you when you're feeling stressed and burnt out, and give you some hopefully clarity in your mind of some things that you might be able to use in the future when you cross this. Okay. So let's just kind of start off with when we're talking about burnout. Um, Open your chat boxes or come off mute or whatever and talk to me about what burnout means for you. What's that word mean when you hear it, when you think about it?
Sorry, if I have another meeting going in the background, so forgive me if you hear that. But
You're
for me,
fine.
burnout is more so like a misorganization of time. Like that's when I feel it most. Is if I don't have everything in order, and so I'm feeling overwhelmed by not having things properly going. That's when
Yes.
I experience the most burnout.
Oh, thank you, Allie. And that's exactly right, right? We feel overwhelmed, right? Very overwhelmed with things. Things get harder. We feel more tired. Kathy put that in there. Um, and Julie, exactly right. It's all about because too many people are wanting stuff from you. And we're going to talk about how you can kind of push through some like that. I find it almost when when I'm facing burnout, it's I'm running on fumes, right? I feel like I can't do anything well. I'm three steps behind everything, and I just don't have the energy, right, to give everything my all. Yeah. So I think that's important because sometimes we think about burnout when we have too much business, and that's not always what causes the burnout, right? We might be doing everything at a really high level, managing everything. What burnout really is it's your nervous system, right? So I'm going to say it a few different times throughout this, but it's the reaction. It's the signal your body's happening, right? The burnout is the signal that you need to do something for yourself and get back into control of it, right? You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling maybe like everything you're doing, what is this for, right? Why am I doing this stuff, right? And then the other signal that you'll have a lot of the times is you're really irritated. Do you ever just get annoyed? Everything annoys you. Yeah. And so you want to watch for those signals and pay attention because, right, what happens when that happens? We're not showing up as well as we could, right? We're not giving our full energy to the stuff that we need to be, and we're going to feel like we're failing everywhere. So it's so important. Okay. So um, let's talk about, okay, so the three things that I have found to really help with burnout is number one, having recovery built in. Okay. So we're going to dig into that. Having recovery built in. What's that look like? Okay. Allie said it, without control, right? That's when we start feeling very overwhelmed and burnt out, is when we're losing control of things. And we also have to know that the effort is paying off, right? Because that's the worst thing can happen. That's what I'm seeing for a lot of agents right now. This is why this is such an important conversation to be having, because it's harder. It's harder now than it has been in the last 5 years. So hear that. If you've been selling in the past 5 years and you feel like it's harder, it is. Okay. If you haven't been selling in the past 5 years, then great, because hard is how you're going to learn, and that's even better. But it is harder. And what that means is it's taking longer to convert people. It's taking more conversations to get to the closing table. Deals are being a little harder to keep together, right? And get to the closing table. So the fact that all of this stuff is most definitely harder for you, right? That now is going to show up in your lack of ability to create forward movement, right? So if you give all your energy to the harder things, then we don't continue to move the business forward. Okay. So that's what we really want to concentrate on today is how do you continue to go in a forward direction, and how are some of these tools and tricks going to help you do that? Okay. So let's first talk about recovery. How many of you feel like you're good at recovery when you need it?
I can say I'm
Ooh, I
definitely
know.
not.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And how important is it? Right? So having too much demand on you without recovery is going to be one of the first things that's going to shut you down. I learned this early on in traveling for work, that after every trip, you need 1 day for recovery, right? Because if you try to go directly back into the office with no recovery, it's going to cost you 3 extra days to get back into everything than it does if I just concentrate on that 1 extra day I need to get the family back in, to get the vacation unloaded, to get my body recovered from traveling, and then all the work caught up to go in and have a good mind on me, right? So think about that. Are you building some opportunities where you're mentally not working and you're giving yourself the opportunity to really calm your nervous system and make sure that you're recovering? Okay. You've had times, I'm sure, before when you have felt like you're working 80 hours a week and you still have lots of energy, right? So I want you to pay attention to that, because burnout and losing energy is not just because you're doing a lot of things, because there are times when we're doing things and we don't feel this way. And there's times when we're working half as hard and we feel double exhausted, right? And that's what we really have to pay attention to. Okay. So let's start with this recovery, because the important thing about recovery is that it doesn't always look like a vacation. Right? It doesn't always look like, if your business can stop for a week where you can truly walk away from it, turn everything off, be completely 100% focused, that's awesome. That is not realistic for a lot of people. You may be able to do that here and there, right? But taking a full on vacation. But let me ask, for all of you, when was the last time you truly stepped away, completely unplugged from your business? Does anyone know? Julie just went on vacation and she was overseas, so hopefully she unplugged. That forces it. Oh, she didn't.
No,
She didn't.
no, I was trying
Okay.
to get people to cover showings while I was gone.
Right. You
So
guys,
no, I
okay.
did not.
Yeah. And this business is one that will steal every bit of that from you, right? We have got to be purposeful about making sure, and you're going to need extra recovery from that, right? Because now you didn't get your rest from vacation and you were working at the same time. So you've got
Okay.
to give that. Yep. Okay. So that's a good one, because when we don't know if we have, or we can't remember the last time, that becomes a problem. Okay. So I want you to start with a couple small things. Number one, an hour protected recovery time every day. 1 hour of time that you give yourself away from everything. Okay. It's time when you're not working, your nervous system isn't thinking, and it's not doing things. Okay, so think about when that time is best for you in your day. Is it taking a lunch hour? Is it an hour before you get started? Is it an hour before bed? Okay. But you need to start learning to protect that time for yourself and just setting yourself an alarm and saying for 1 hour every day, I'm going to give myself recovery time. Okay. And in that recovery time, the point is not to do anything. It's to give yourself brain time to give your brain time to reflect and recover. And what happens is that even your brain knowing you're going to have time for that will give you energy to push harder when you need it. Okay? So that's the first tiny little thing you're doing for your brain is just letting it know it's okay because at lunch we're going to have time away from all this and come back to it with a clear head. Or at dinner, we're not going to do any work from 6 to 7 and we're going to come back with a clear head. Okay? So build that into your everyday, and that's the only way you're going to get ahead of recovery. And it has to become a habit. Like everything else you do, we're going to talk about, prioritizing and all of that kind of stuff. But building this recovery time into your everyday has to become a habit sooner than later. Okay? Here's the second thing, a weekly reset. I used to call this my CEO time. And I did my weekly reset. It was time blocked every day for the end of the day on Thursdays. And the reason that is because I protected Fridays for family appointments, health appointments, that kind of stuff. So whenever anything had to be done, any dentist appointment or anything, happened on Fridays. That way my whole family just knew we can schedule stuff on Fridays and I'll make sure I'm there to be there. So that was one thing, streamlining that stuff, right? But having that weekly reset where you literally take time to wrap up 1 week and plan for the next week. What did I do this week? How did I do it? How far did I get? Was it a successful week? And what do I need to do to make next week better? Okay. So now we've got 2 things you have to time block for just to make sure you can keep yourself mentally and physically healthy, right? On top of all the other stuff. So make sure you're prioritizing these times. Okay. So the first thing, your daily recovery time, your weekly reset, 30 minutes to an hour, where you reset your brain, you reset your week, you wrap everything up and start everything again. And the third one, we're going to do this practice together called the energy audit. Okay. So on your piece of paper, I want you to make 3 columns. The first column, I want you to write it drains me. First column is drains me. The second column is it gives me energy. Gives me energy. And the third one is it has to be done. Okay? Now I'm going to read off some things that we do in our business. And I want you, as we talk about them, to put them in one of these 3 columns. Okay? Lead generation. Where would you put lead generation? And sometimes it can do both, which is fair. And sometimes it can fall in all 3. Where would you put lead generation? Meetings. Paperwork. Social media. Problem solving. What about training? Learning. emails, showing homes, negotiating, managing people. Oh, and we got to do so much of that. Planning events. And the last one is putting out fires. Okay, anything we're missing that we do in our business? Allie? Yep. She says, is anybody feeling like most of these are going in the has to be done column? Yes. Yep. Has to be done. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. What are your ahas just from these lists? That's a good one. A lot of this stuff just has to be done, right? I had more drains me than give me energy.
I feel like maybe when we get to myself speaking, like when I get to a certain position in my business, maybe there are some of these things I
Mhm.
can outsource, you know, but
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
like as I'm building, a lot of them I have to do myself. So
Yeah, right? I love that. Let's go to this next step then, because that walks us right into what we're going to do with this. So I want you to look at the drains me, okay? And I want you to go through and put a star next to anything that you can stop doing, okay? Did that shorten your list a little? No? Okay. A little bit. What about this? What can you delegate? Now put a star next to anything you could have someone else do for you. Not that you want to, not that you'd be comfortable to, but that you could. Okay. Now on this one, I want you to put an S next to something in drains me that needs a better system. And did that take care of everything on that list? Does everything at least have a star? I ended up putting a D for delegate by mine. A star or an S next to it. No. Okay, Kathy, can you come off mute and let's talk about that? So, what's one of the things that drains you that you feel like won't be solved? Oh, let me see. I can ask you to unmute, but I don't think I can unmute you yourself. Okay, that's all right. We'll have you type it in. Anyone else? Do you have one that isn't solved by one of those things?
Lead gen.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So lead gen, I agree. You can't delegate that, right? You can't stop doing it. So what's that mean? The solution is you need
for
a
me,
better
I put an S.
system.
Yeah, I was gonna say I put an S by my Legion.
Yes, ma'am. Because one of these things will solve all of them. And so, what that means is if it's draining your energy, you need a better system. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, your better system is oftentimes that you just need to find out how to love on your people. You're trying to sell to them, you're trying to call them and touch base with them like a realtor. You're not just reaching out to them like a person and a human and someone you can do something with. It's okay, Kathy. I know. I see you're getting like, yep, can't do it, but all good.
So
Hopefully that helped you.
what about putting out fires? I mean, I don't feel like I can outsource that to anybody. It has to be done. And I don't know that there's a system to put out fires necessarily, unless all the systems that I have in place minimize the fires.
Correct. Correct. The systems will minimize the fires. One of the things that's super important is that a lot of the times what the burnout comes from is the mental clutter, right? It's because we don't have a system for getting it out of our head, right? And oftentimes that's what the fire is. How do we get it out of our head? Something's happening. So, Julie, an example is let's talk through some fires that we might put out. Give me an example of a fire we might put out. A low appraisal, right? That feels like a fire. We get a text message and it says you've got a low appraisal and we panic. What if our system was to immediately respond, thank you for your message. I'm in a meeting and we'll get on this as soon as I can in 2 hours when I'm out. That gets it off your head, right? Doesn't mean you handle it if you're not putting the fire out, right? Go ahead.
Except I can't get it out of my head. It's always going to
I
be in the
know.
back of my head.
Well, but if you do this, you will. If you reach out to them and tell them you're on it, right? What would you do if you were in a closing?
Tell them I'm in a closing. I'll get to it as soon as I can. I mean,
That's exactly right. Okay. So we're going to talk about one thing. When everything equals an emergency, you're also going to lose control of your thought process, right? So we have to be real aware. One of the things I used to tell my team, if they're calling us and it's a true emergency, they're probably on the phone with the wrong person, right? Because what is a true emergency, right? Maybe they got hit by a car on the way to closing. True, timely emergency. And there again, we're going to have to deal with that when we can get to it, right? But we have to be real clear with ourselves on what is an emergency and whose emergency is it. Because a lot of the times they think it's an emergency because they're emotional, right? And it truly isn't. That appraisal, we've got days to figure out. So whether I tell them in 2 minutes we have a low appraisal issue or 3 hours from now, the steps are going to be the same and the solution's going to be the same. So the very first step you have to take is to say, how big of an emergency is this? Okay. And then make sure you're prioritizing that way in your head. The putting out fires is a hard one too. And I've said this to a lot of groups I've coached, and it makes everyone panic the first time I say it. And then when you start doing it, it's like, oh, it really works. And hysterically enough, I just did it to someone last week. It's a person in my sphere. He's wonderful, refers me a ton of business, reached out. I have a super quick real estate question for you. He does a lot of development stuff. So often he's calling and needing something or a connection or something like that. Super important thing. Can you call me right back? By the time I got to him, I was in a meeting. I got to him. I texted. I was like, I'm available now. Can we hop on? He's like, I figured it out. Okay. How often does that happen? So we initiated the rule. We're not going to answer anything within an hour of it coming in. Because you have to train them. You have to train them that you're not going to always be there to answer questions, nor should you be. We are not on-call doctors. Okay. So one of the things is to make sure you give yourself that ability to set some boundaries on the emergencies. Okay. So anything else hanging out there that you felt like you needed to figure out? But Julie, I think you can. Putting out those fires is definitely something that can have a system built around it. Ellie, is it dangerous to do that too early in your business? To set boundaries? I missed
Essentially,
when you were
yes.
talking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
essentially yes, because
no.
what I'm thinking is I don't know how it started for you, but what I'm thinking is if I'm telling someone, "Oh yeah, I'll be your resource and I'll be available to you and this and other," they're more likely to refer me if that rings true. If like, "Oh yeah, she always picks up when I need her," or she's easily available and these types of things. Now, if I'm like, "Oh, well, you'll have to hold on." Now, 2 hours is not that big a deal in the grand scheme, but if they're like, "Oh, I figured it out myself," it then feels like, what did they need me for? And that's what I
I
worry about.
love that. Yeah. And that's a beautiful fear that we all have. And we have a lot of fear of losing out to someone else that might respond faster to that than us, right? We think about that a lot of times with our leads and stuff. What if we don't answer fast enough, right? We fear we're not servicing them if we're not on call. And here's what I learned, Allie. When I, okay, so if someone called me and I'm in the car and I'm trying to respond fast, oftentimes I'm hurried, I don't have the information, I'm scattered, I'm distracted, right? Whereas if I took the 30 minutes to get back to my office, to get organized, to read the email fully, and then respond, I'm going to be better at my job. Okay. So what I want you to think about is what response makes you the very best person for your clients? And what I found is that me setting those boundaries made me better for them. I'll give you another example of that. In family stuff, right? I told them, sure, I'll answer your call at a soccer game. And I'm going to be 100% distracted. I'm not going to have my computer in front of me. I may not have access to all the information. And as long as you're okay with that, I'm happy to answer at a soccer game. And what are they going to say? No, no, no. I'd rather you when you can focus on this and really get back to me. Right? But give them that option. Yeah, you can have me. You're not getting me at my best, though. That's what I'm going to tell you. You're not getting me at my best. You can have me and let them decide how do they want you. Do they want you at your best or do they want you? Right? And you can figure that out too. And then you'll be worthless to them. And guess what? The next time they are not going to ask you to answer during a soccer game. Because you're not going to have the answers. You're going to just have to tell them, yeah, I don't have any of this. I'm on the soccer field. And when I'm back at my desk and can look at the emails and do all my homework and organize my thoughts, we'll have a much more productive conversation. Okay, so don't be afraid because here's another thing I hear from a lot of agents. It was just happening with someone that I coached today. He said, I'm learning to lead more. And what I'm finding as I'm learning to lead more, they're telling me up front what I'm hiring you for is to lead me. It comes exactly that way in these setting boundaries also, right? Because your people don't want you working 24/7. They want you working for them 24/7, but they don't necessarily want you running ragged and doing all this stuff, right? So we have to keep in mind that we're at our best and we present better and we come to the table better for our clients when we can really truly set these boundaries and lead them with how all of this should truly happen. Okay? So it's never too early to set boundaries. Okay, so that walked us right into our lack of control because that's what we're talking about here, right? So we, as entrepreneurs, we run our own business. We manage our own time, right? We are in charge. We're our boss. We're our employee. We are the everything. And what happens is when we let everything control us and we don't take control, right? We let the clients control us. They can be at their soccer game and not talk to us, but we're not expected to be at our soccer game and not talk to them, right? They'll be the first ones to be like, oh, well, I'm going to be at a soccer game. Could you call me at 9 p.m.? No. Okay. So don't let them, and pay attention to what we can and cannot control. Okay. So I want us to do that practice. Let's talk about when we have a plan, when we can control the controllables. Okay, this goes back to those putting out fires and everything else, right? So how many times do we have our day planned? We're going to get in the office at 9 o'clock. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to have lunch with a friend. And at 8:55, a call comes in and it's going to sway your whole day in a different direction, right? And that happens because you are not in control of your own calendar. You're not in control of your priorities, right? And you're letting the loudest person and issue decide what you're going to do today versus you deciding what you're going to do today. Okay? So let's talk about a few things that we can work on with this. Number one, the daily 3. So the daily 3, I want you to wake up every day and know what the 3, if only 3 things get done today, what are the things that has to be every day? And they can be small things also. They can be, if the only thing that gets done today is that I have that hard conversation with someone, great. But every day you need to wake up and be very clear with yourself. I used to write them down before I got out of bed. When I got better at doing it, once I got to the office and protecting that mindset, I could do it then. But if you do not get out of bed with the 3 very clear things of, if only 3 things get done today, I'm good, and clarity on what those 3 things are, you need to make sure you're doing that every day. The point is to define success for yourself before it defines you. And how often, when we let everybody else define our day and take it and control our time, do we end up at the end of the day just being like, I got nothing done today. I did nothing. A whole bunch of nothing. Not only did the 3 most important things not get done, but nor did anything else. Okay. The second one is response time boundaries. Okay, so we kind of talked about this. Response time boundaries. So that is in response to everything cannot be an emergency, right? So we're going to limit how long we respond. If you don't feel comfortable with waiting an hour to respond to people, wait 30 minutes. But set yourself a timer and don't respond to them within 30 minutes. And see what happens to both your nervous system and brain and theirs when you give them 30 minutes to settle down and take a breath. Okay? Some other examples of setting your response boundaries. How many of you have a voicemail that sets the clear boundaries of when you work and when your office hours are? Okay. That was one of the first things I did in my business that my coach taught me, and it was very scary at the beginning. But here's what happens. My voicemail says, thank you for calling. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m., evenings and weekends by appointment only. If you need me in the meantime, leave a message. I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay? Simple. Now, guys, what's that say? Does that mean I can't call someone back at 6:30 if I'm free and available? Nope. I can call them whenever I want to. But what am I doing? I'm setting the expectations that if I can't get back to them that night, tomorrow morning is an absolutely acceptable expectation that we have both just laid out. And by them listening to my voicemail, we've mutually agreed to. It gives me the opportunity to now over exceed those expectations if I can. Okay, so 9 times out of 10, what would happen? I'd call back in 20 minutes and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect to hear from you from tomorrow. I know this is your off time. We don't have to talk now. right? And then I had the option to go ahead and do the appointment on their phone or say, oh my God, no problem. I love speaking with you. But yeah, let's schedule a time to really dig in tomorrow. But I wanted to get back to you and just make sure you heard from me tonight and know that I'm excited to work from you, right? Because those are typically new leads that you want to over. Okay. So it doesn't mean you can't over exceed the expectations you've set. But if you set no expectations, then you're leaving the expectations for them to decide what they expect from you versus you setting out what they can expect from you. Okay. So learning to control your energy and your time. Here's some other examples of that. I check messages throughout the day and will respond as quickly as possible. If something is urgent, call me twice. If something is urgent, text me after you leave a voicemail. You can also tell them, I respond to emails and voicemails as quickly as possible. When we're in an active negotiation, I'll be watching yours more closely. They need to understand that they are in a priority level based on where they are in their transaction with you. And that means what your communication style is going to be with them is going to be different based on where they are in the process, right? When you are a high priority and we are in a high priority thing, you can absolutely expect to have my high priority attention. And please be respectful when we're not, right? That I may have to answer to other people first. We kind of talked about this one, but I want to make sure you have my full attention. So I'll respond between appointments. I could answer right now. You're not going to have my full attention. Give me 20 minutes and I can respond with full attention between appointments. Okay? So the goal isn't to disappear. The goal isn't to not deal with things, right? The goal isn't to not help your people. But the goal is to not let them know you're available all the day, every day to suit their needs whenever they want it. Right? You're training them that they are not your only client and that you have a whole job outside of maintaining their stuff. Okay? So, making sure you have your response times. So the 3 most important things to start your day. Making sure you're setting your response time boundaries. The third one is the yes filter. How many of you have thought about what you say yes to? Everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else, right? And you've got to have a filter on what you're willing to say yes to, okay? We do it all the time with closings. We will say yes to being in a closing. We will block everything we have to. We will protect that with everything we have. And yet, if we agree, it's probably the least important time we're present in the transaction, potentially. They need us. If we've done our job, closing should be easy and we shouldn't have to really be there, right? We go because it's important to them, because it's important to us to get paid. It feels good. It feels like success and everything else, right? And if we're creating our days based around the enjoyment of those successes, we're also basing them off of things we can't control. We can't control if the closing gets done, right? We hope it does, but that's not on us if it's going to close or not. There is not one decision we're going to make that puts that closing on our shoulders. That's going to have to do with the buyer, the seller, the title company, the lender, the appraiser, the inspection company, and everything else, right? So we have to really make sure that we are paying attention to what we can control and not allowing our happiness to come from things we can't or our sadness to come from things we can't. Okay? So let's go back to that yes filter. What are you saying yes to? And what does it mean you're saying no to? Right? Is what you're saying yes to, does it align with your goals? Will it make you money? Oftentimes we say yes to the things that are not going to make us money. Let's go back to that showing houses one, right? It is something we have to do. It is something you can delegate later in life, but it's also something that truly doesn't make you money. It moves the ball forward, but you could delegate it to someone else, right? So you've got to be clear on that. Every time you're saying yes to even doing something that feels as important as showing houses, what are you saying no to? Are you saying no to building your business? Are you saying no to talking to 5 more people today? And you got to get real clear with yourself every time you say yes to something. What have you said no to? And is the no more important? Are you pushing down your important things? Will this thing I say yes to matter in 30 days? That's a great gut check for a question you should be asking about what am I saying yes to? Will it matter in 30 days? And if I say no to this, will I have to deal with it again? Because sometimes that's a reason to say yes. If all you're going to do is kick the can down the road and it's just not a yes for today, it's a no for today, but a yes for tomorrow, right? You may have to look at it from that lens as well. So burnout comes from saying yes to too many things often and not actually doing the things that you deserve to be doing. So that's what that's trying to protect you from. Okay? So now let's talk about the final thing, which is feeling like the effort isn't paying off. I listen to a lot of podcasts on burnout. There's some really good ones. Anytime you get into the entrepreneur world, burnout is a real thing. There's an entire managing burnout podcast, actually. So it is a whole thing. And one of the biggest things you hear oftentimes is that when your actions aren't helping you move the needle, or you feel like the effort is not paying off, that's when it takes more energy from you, right? That's also why we stop lead generating. Okay, so we're going to talk about some ways to really help you through this part of feeling like you're getting nowhere. Okay, results are slow, but you're doing the actions. You're showing up, but people aren't responding. You're leading, people are complaining. You're solving problems, but more are coming up all the time, right? This is why you start feeling like, oh my God, what is the point of all this? Am I ever going to get ahead? Right? So let's think about this. In real estate, our business is 30, 60, 90 days behind, right? Everything we do now, we talk about all the time. We're going into July, and our third quarter is likely outlined for us, right? It's likely what we did 30, 60, 90 days ago, which is fine. But that gap in our brain is very dangerous, right? If you're waiting for results to show up that far down the road, that gap in your brain is going to feel dangerous. Okay, so we're going to talk about some things to help fill that gap in your brain to help you with this burnout piece. Okay, you have to figure out how to measure progress. Measure progress. Okay, so you got to think about this. Am I only measuring the outcomes, or am I also measuring the movement? Because there is often more success in the movement than there even is in the outcomes. Am I only noticing what's finished, or am I also noticing what's improving? How many of you have read The Gap and the Gain? Any of you heard of that book? So it's pretty easy concept when you know the title of it, but basically when you live in the gap, you're thinking about what's missing, what's not fulfilled, what wasn't there, versus living in the gain of what got me this far. I'm already here where I am. What have I gained from being here, right? And that's a true mindset shift. We have to stay out of what am I missing and into what have I got, right? And that's what this is all for. Really trying to watch what is creating your process, what's creating your forward movement, and not on what you're not doing. Okay? So let's think about wins. Oftentimes we attach our wins to things we can't control, right? Go back to that closing. If you are measuring your wins by closings, you're measuring it by something you can't control. right? You have to go back and measure it by what was the win, what were the small wins along the way that got you to that closing. And you have to measure those small wins. Okay, this is a lot of the times why people will measure conversations daily. Because as long as you're reaching out to enough people, as long as you're having enough conversations, the rest is going to follow. It's also a very easy thing to look at and say, did I call 5 people today? Check or not. That's very clear for your brain to say, did I win today or did I not win today? Did I make my 5 calls and win or did I not? But break those wins down into small things that you have to do. Okay? Maybe it's one conversation you've got to avoid. When you sit down and you make your what 3 things have to be done today, make sure that those 3 things are also things that are going to feel like small wins for you. If they're not, they may not need to be on that list. Okay? So it can be simple things. What system did you improve? What did you not give up on today? What did you do just 1% better today than you did yesterday? Okay? But make sure you know what a win day looks like and how you can identify, did I win today or did I not? Okay? Here's the second thing. We're going back to this, what you can control and what you cannot control. Okay? So it's the efforts to results map. You've got to make sure that your efforts are mapping to directly what the result is. Okay? So I want you to think about these. What are some things, as we talk through these things, I want you to think about the thing you can't control and the thing you can control. Okay? So you can control making calls. What can you not control in making your calls? You're probably thinking the things.
If they answer.
Yeah. If they answer, when they answer, what they say, what kind of day they're having, if they loved you when they got off or if they hated you. We can't control any of that, right? We can control making the calls. So make sure you're focusing on the efforts and the results, right? Making the calls is the effort that's going to lead to the results of the people coming. Don't focus on what can happen in the meantime. We can control if we follow up with people, right? You can control if you follow up with people. What can you not control when you follow up? Whether they're ready to do anything. You can't control if they're ready to sell or buy, nor will you ever be able to. That's often something that keeps people from calling their sphere because they're like, well, they're not ready to move. Exactly why they need to hear from you because you have a lot of value. You can't control when they're ready to move. You can control if you're following up with them so that they know when they are ready that they can call you. Okay, so you have to detach from if someone's ready. I'm not calling them because they're ready or to make them ready or to control whether they're ready or not. All I'm doing is the follow-up. That's the piece I can control. Okay? You can control your attitude and preparation, but guess what we cannot control? The market. I hear so many people making business decisions on, well, I'll just wait for the market. This is happening because the market. I'm seeing this in my business because the market. We cannot control the market. What we can control is what we do in every single market. We can control the efforts we take in any market we're affected by. Okay? So really, really, really making sure, number one, what are you saying yes to? Right? Are you controlling what you're saying yes to? The second thing, are you really focused on what you can control versus what you can't control? And making sure that's all that's on your list is the things you absolutely have control over. And then the final thing that I want you all to think about is sometimes the hardest thing, because this word is big, but you have to bring everything back and reconnect it to your why. When we're feeling burnt out, when we're feeling overwhelmed, it's because we've lost focus on why we're doing it. And you sometimes have to bring yourself back to the really simple reasons. I'm doing this, I'm dealing with this every day so that I can afford to take the family out to dinner. That's my why, right? Would I ultimately love to hit these big goals and to do all this stuff? Yes, absolutely. But what's the why that's going to get me through today? I want my kids happy and healthy. And sometimes I have to reconnect myself directly back to why do I push every day? Why do I plug? Why do I go? Why do I allow people to control me? And all those other things, right? Because we got to connect it back to really, truly, why am I choosing that real estate is my job today? And what is your why? Okay. So burnout really comes from three places. So let's kind of summarize that. The first one is no recovery time. So when you're feeling burnt out, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like a failure, when you're questioning, why am I doing all this? What is this all for? Can I even be a realtor anymore? Right? That's all very normal in this cycle of us going through this. And you've got to make sure you're building time in for recovery daily and weekly. Number two, you have to keep control. You got to focus on what you can control. You've got to set your wins around what you can control. And then you have to measure the actions to make sure you're watching what you can control. And then the last thing is when you feel like it's not paying off or not worth it. So do something to continue to remind yourself of why this is still what you choose to do every day and why it's going to be the thing that's going to ultimately give you energy, right? Because it may not be making the calls that are going to give me energy, but guess what is? Sitting down with my family out to dinner and treating them to a great fun meal when we're all together, right? So focus on those things. Okay. Did you guys get some ahas? Okay, I hope so. So this we will summarize and record. So I will always do these no matter how many people are on. I've done them just by myself before too, because if you sign up, you get the recording and the summary afterwards. So you can go back and replay it anytime you need. This burnout conversation is one I do once a year, all the time. And it's often something you have to remind yourself of once a month, once a day, once a week. Right? So bring it to the top. If you're finding you're dealing with this feeling of burnout and overwhelm more than not, make sure you're putting your boundaries in place to protect yourself from it. All right. You guys are awesome. Hopefully you got some great stuff to help structure your next week. And then we'll be putting out the next month's recording or next month's webinar out soon. That'll be the 3rd to 4th week of July. And then remember, every Tuesday morning, 8:30 to 9, we're on here talking conversations. What are the most important conversations we need to be having? How to have successful conversations with our clients, the market, and all of that kind of stuff. So time block for that. All right, I'll stick around for any questions.
Thanks, Julie.
You're welcome. Glad you were here, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Julie. Have a good rest of your day.
Of course. You too, Allie. Good job multitasking.